This is straight up agonizing, soul crushing statistics because I lost on time. Uh, could not finish the game. And I played a perfect game according to analysis 0-0-0 against somebody who only made two mistakes. Absolutely epic. I had checkmate coming up super fast. But unfortunately, I mean, look at that. Look at all those moves that are white. There's no blunders, which is awesome in and of itself. Nobody blundered. And black only made two mistakes. In how many moves? There are 53 moves. So that's a total of 106 moves with only two mistakes. You can see this game went to 26 moves, which is 51 perfect moves in a row at the beginning of this game. This is just freaking mind-blowing. But then that was some kind of mistake according to Leach's Stockfish analysis. And I kind of get it. Like, if you push forward, then I don't get to black's 6th rank, skewering the pawn and the knight, which the knight really has not too many places to go that are beneficial, because if it goes to d5, then rook takes c6, and it protects the c3 pawn, which the black knight is protecting. So I think that's why the computer is saying that's a mistake, and why just pushing the pawn is the correct move. However, which then my knight on f4, if you push the pawn to f6, then even though I'm up some space, I guess, my knight on f3 has no space, really. There's nowhere to go. It's just stuck protecting d4. So anyway, wow. Let's get into it. Let's check it out. So d4, I mean, it's very rare you get 3 goose eggs on your side of the analysis. And it's even more rare that you get your opponent to play a fairly accurate game as well. So d4, c6, so c6, d5, and I'll just go through this. Won't spend too much time, but you can take a quick look at the moves here. Just in this part of this opening, this sort of London size, it's not really, it's a London variant basically, with this queen's pawn opening and the bishop on f4, even though it's not officially a London game. But just sometimes in the past, in many games, and I think it's recommended, but g3, bishop g3 is the move. However, with that pawn on c5, anytime I see the pawn on c5, I just go ahead and take. Just keep it simple. That way you can make better decisions, and it's not too complex of a opening. Castles. Okay, so now what's the weakness for white? Well, is that ding-dong backwards e3 pawn. But unfortunately for black, I am able to, or white is able to, get all of their pieces piled up on that e3 pawn in preparation of pushing it. That's what the point of f3 so long ago in the opening was. One, preventing black's knight to go to e4, which you don't want, and g4, which you don't want, because the queen is on that h2 diagonal. And also to push and just take control of the center. You already have the D pawn forward, and if you can push that E pawn with the F3 pawn in support, you're going to win control in the middle of the game. The center of the game, in the middle of the game. So that makes for a great opening. Boom. It's kind of weird that Queen F4 is the perfect move, but I get it, I guess. Because I guess you have Knight G4, but not really. But anyway, so that must be some of the logic there. Stockfish said it was, the perfect move, so there you go. Can't argue with Stockfish too much. Everything is just so simple. Again, the game just seems like it flows into a perfect fit. I don't know. It's just like the pieces are moving to their places they want to go, the most optimal places. And why fight the flow? Let the electrons flow down the wire. Let the fish run with the river. Alright, so just keep attacking, keep control of the center. White's king is active. I have a knight in the center. My rook is well positioned in the middle of the board. We're attacking. I have two pieces attacking. Black c5 pawn. Knight c3. This is the part that gets really tricky, because in the end game, and you've got these knights bouncing around the center of the board, and they can go pretty much anywhere they want. There's so many potentials to lose so many pawns so quickly because of the forking power of the knight. However, somehow I was able to maintain equality in this game, and I mean, it's looking pretty good for white. That's all there is to it. I mean, I'm plus 3.8 points here. And I've got two connected pawns with no pawns to oppose. The only thing I have to stay away from are knight checks and potential forks with my king and pawns, because the king basically has to stay clear next to the pawns, and that's the terror of an endgame with a knight. So that was a perfect placement for the knight in this situation. Boom. Okay, inaccuracy here. Moving the king up. He should have put me in check. Let's look at that real quick. Boom, check. But my king just comes straight up to the middle of the board. Let's see how Stockfish says the best line is. Why wouldn't he push the pawn forward there? I don't know. Okay, so don't know about that. Check. See, this is what I mean with this knight, and Stockfish is going to have the perfect analysis, I guess, and it's going to play the perfect computer moves. Yikes, would never have wanted to get into all that. So let's just go back. Here, check. The king moves. What's wrong with pushing the pawn forward? If you push the pawn forward, it must be something like long-term wrong with this. What the heck? Oh, there's a fork here. Boom, boom. Aha! See, this is what I mean. Then he has 3-on-1. So the knight could go here, check, and boom, this pawn's toast, and that's a little bit painful, I'm not going to lie, because once that goes, then, so let's say I move, and I have to move in a way. If I go forward, you definitely don't want that situation, because then you have to get your ding-dong pieces out from in front of your pawns. And I'm not sure, actually. I don't think it really matters, to be honest. Boom. I mean, you gotta come over. And then what? Well, there's this check, and then king goes here, and then King goes over. Knight comes down. It's trying to do its best to get in a situation. Boom. Well, there's checkmate. So that doesn't work. I mean, I don't understand why that leads to a checkmate. But maybe, whatever. Where the heck? King d6. We were past all that. We were headed to right here. c5 check. King d7. Check. So, okay, so there was the final mistake of the game, and it's just going to be, boom. Now there's just no... Amazing. How do you make 100% perfect moves? I mean, come on. And then, but look at my time. I only have 4 seconds, and it's very hard in an end game because you don't want to put somebody in stalemate. It's super hard. So right here, 2.5 seconds, and then you have time lag on top of that. So you literally, I don't know, if you're online, maybe it's faster. It's harder online to touch a screen, I think, sometimes than to play real time where you have control of when that clock goes down. In online play, you have no control over lag. That 2.5 seconds could be 0.1 seconds literally and go off the clock because of time lag. It could just be gone. And literally, I've had 8 seconds on the clock go off in the blink of an eye because of time lag and lose games that way. Anyhow, I ultimately lost this perfect game, which makes you that is the soul-crushing agony of chess. You play absolutely perfect, and you can still lose. And I'm going to tell you a life analysis here. This happens in courts. In the courtroom, you can make all the perfect motions and play all the perfect defenses, and legally you can do everything perfectly according to law and still lose. So I just ran into a situation like that. The Constitution of the state that I live in says one thing, and all the cases uphold what the Constitution says, but the legislature passed a series of laws that basically say the opposite. And went to court. The agency that I filed my motion to quash against filed motion to dismiss. Well, my motion to quash rested on the written law in the code and statutes, while the motion to dismiss from the agency rested on a single case and the constitutional amendment of the state within the state's constitution. And although I could prove and exceptions and everything else to the cases that they rested on, the very case they rested on, and although I could prove legally that the written code literally says the agency that I filed my motion to quash against, judge granted motion to dismiss. So even though I did everything perfectly, I still lost. Well, it's going to have to get appealed, and then there's going to have to be other stages to this case. But my point is, in chess and in life, you can be perfect and still lose. And I think sometimes people with mental health disorders who don't play chess and don't have this constant win-loss feedback and these kind of situations where they are getting this allegorical experience and shaping their mind to be prepared for these kind of emotional, and literally it's a trauma. Like you literally sometimes you just want to throw your phone clear across the room because you're playing. I didn't know my game was perfect, but I was playing a really good game against a decent level opponent. So 1832, and my rating, I have kept increasing my rating in the past week because I'm able to focus a little bit this week. But people who don't play chess, I think their brains for life situations that are similar to this, where they're doing everything they can to please a parent, maybe a parent's being really oppressive and just nitpicking things and doing a lot of things, and maybe that parent just can never be satisfied, and here this child is trying to be perfect, and then they constantly still lose. That's very emotionally traumatic for a child, and for adults. Maybe you have a spouse. Maybe you're constantly trying to please that spouse. You're doing everything you possibly can. You're trying to be as perfect as you can, and well, you can never please them. And it just grinds at you and grinds at you emotionally, psychologically, and cognitively, and it's just constantly there. You're getting grinded and grinded and grinded. Well, a lot of times some people snap, and I believe that chess develops the neural networks and capacities, the emotional regulation. When you play these kind of games, and you're playing hundreds and hundreds of games, and you come into these situations fairly often, where you're playing as perfectly as you can, and boom, you lose. Well, I believe that chess prepares you for those kind of real life scenarios by shaping the emotion regulation, the cognitive and intelligence centers of the brain. They get wired together in a way that prevents someone and modulates and regulates someone from snapping and just going off and murdering somebody because they're constantly being abused. Well, when you put yourself through that abuse by playing a game like chess or golf, where you're out there trying to beat that stupid score and get scratch, and you just keep hitting shanks and draws and slices and duffs, and you just keep brutalizing yourself out there on the golf course because you're trying to beat that perfect score on the course that someone else has set. It's basically a bar they set for you to achieve, and then you constantly go out there and you can't achieve it. When you put yourself through those situations, I think it builds feedback mechanisms and regulation mechanisms in the neural templates of the brain that allow you to maintain levity in very difficult situations. I would say, in government, in leadership, business management, in the courtroom, when there's high stress situations, I believe chess as a child and as an adult, and you continue to practice over and over again these situations on a board that you want to compete and defeat somebody. And then you play in a game where you play a perfect game. Oh my God, I just want to cry. And you lose on something you can't control, like time. And yes, you have some control over it, but in online chess, you absolutely do not have any control over the lag. The time lag between you and wherever this other opponent is, and all the electrical signals going through the ether. The only electrical signals going through ether that you can control are the ones in your brain that triggers your behavior. So when you go through these situations online, you can't control what's happening, and you're presented with those scenarios, and you can control yourself without throwing your phone across the room, without stomping and kicking things, because that's sometimes what it makes you want to do. Then you've built neural pathways that help reinforce regulation of very strong emotions. So that's how chess can apply to life. I'm just staring at the screen, looking at triple zeros and my clear advantage, and I'm going to win this game. And to know that I lost on time. Oh, that's so hurtful. Anyway, okay, this has been long enough. Hope you enjoyed the chess and life analogies, chess and thoughts. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.